So I forgot before this that I actually needed to shoot the EOS RP, like the actual camera itself. So good thing I didn't sell my GH4 because I needed it for that. So I wanted to tell you guys today that if you are even somewhat serious about photography or filmmaking or cinematography or anything like that, that the Canon EOS RP, featured here, is a great way to start out. That being said, you know, if you're starting out and you're not sure this is what you want to do with your life, then maybe you'll start out with something cheaper. Weighing in at only $999, it's a great camera for beginners to start out on. I used the GH4 for a while, and yeah, it's great for video, but if you are trying to take pictures and, you know, crop in for Instagram, you gotta get that 4x5. It's good, but you know, it could have higher megapixels, and the EOS RP delivers that for me. It's a great camera for starting YouTube. I mean, it records 1080p, 24 frames a second, which is all you need for something like this or a vlog. It also shoots 1080p 60p, so you know, if you want to slow it down a little bit, get some of that crispy B-roll, you can do that too. It's not 120 frames, so it's nothing, you know, crazy, but that's what you pay the extra $1,800 for, you know, the Canon EOS R, which is slightly above this. It's got that flip out LCD screen, which is great to be able to see yourself like I am right now. I'm looking at it right now. It's great for YouTube if you're doing something like this or vlogging, because you can see yourself without having to guess if you're in frame or not. You know, if you're gonna hold that lens, you don't have to mess with it at all. You know exactly where your camera's looking. It's got an RF lens mount, which is Canon's lenses of the future, because that's the new mount that they're rolling with. So all the new lenses that they're gonna come out with from here on out are probably gonna be the RF lenses. But the most important factor about this camera is that it's full frame. So coming from the GH4, which was a micro four thirds sensor, this one gives you a better image with no crop, no nothing. And you know, these full frame lenses that you're using, yeah, you get the most out of those. Normally, if you use a micro four thirds, you have a 25mm lens, it'll be something around a 50mm lens. But on a full frame, you get 24 is actual 24. If you plan on upgrading to Canon's like new cameras eventually, you know, in the future when you're getting better at this, this is what they're gonna use, the RF mounts. They're gonna use them. The R5, the R6, the new mirrorless Canon beasts of cameras, they're using the RF lenses. So you'll be ahead of the game by buying those. Now, just like the R5 and the R6 and the EOS R, the EOS RP is also mirrorless. It means it's really light. I believe this camera is like less than a pound, maybe only a pound. The lens I'm using weighs more than that. Now, I compiled a list of specs between the EOS R and the EOS RP, just so that you guys could get an idea of what you're missing out on between the two. Now keep in mind there is an $800 difference between the EOS R and the EOS RP, the EOS R being the more expensive. So for resolution and megapixels on the EOS RP, you are getting 26.2 megapixels. Now that's not bad. I came from 14.7, I think the GH4 had, so it's quite an upgrade. And on the EOS R, you're getting 31.7, which is better than the RP, that's for sure. You're paying $800 more, you'd hope it's a better camera. But it's not vastly better. Megapixels aren't everything. Now they both do 4K, but it's 1.7 crop on both of them, so you're not at an advantage in that much by buying the EOS R, because they both crop at 4K, so you might as well just use 1080p because it's good enough for YouTube right now anyway. They have the same color sampling. I'll mention it here because I don't know what that beginning means, but it's 420. Most higher end cameras have 422, which is a really good color space, but 420 is not bad, and you're not getting an advantage in the EOS R in that category. They both have a max movie length of 29 minutes and 59 seconds, so you're not missing out there. One of the biggest downsides for me as a filmmaker, and for you if you're looking to buy this camera, is the Canon EOS R, or EOS R. I'm not sure which one that is, by the way. Who knows? The Canon EOS R has C-Log, or Canon's, RAW format for videos, but the EOS RP does not. Now that being said, you can shoot in a neutral picture profile and it sort of gets near it. It's not the same though. It's not as easy to color grade, but if you're looking to do something like that, chances are you're well higher up than some of the other people that would be starting out. So you can color grade on this camera. I did it for this video. I did it for the B-roll I shot. And another big category for this camera is the bitrate, because it has quite a big difference from the EOS R. A lot of people complain about the bitrate on this camera, and that's one of the biggest reasons why they don't pick it up. I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean, if you're trying to get pro level, of course you're gonna spend more and get the EOS R, but if you're starting out and you're serious, this is a great camera. So I'll make a video explaining this stuff a little more in depth later, but for now, the EOS RP has IPB for the bitrate, and so does the EOS R, but it also has All I, which is a faster a faster bitrate, and it gets more data in. So the IPB for the EOS RP at 4K is 120 megabits per second, and it's the same on the R. But the R has All I on 4K at 480 megabits per second. So that's quite a difference. Quite a difference, but that's 4K. So let's get to 1080p. So the 1080p at 60 frames per second has 60 megabits IPB on the RP. And on the R, it also has 60 megabits, but on All I, it has 180 megabits. So basically they have the same exact IPB bitrate, but Canon EOS R has All I. So yeah, of course it's going to be better, but IPB is not that bad. And lastly, on bitrate, we're talking 1080p, 24 frames a second. So for 24 frames a second, the RP has 30 megabits per second IPB, or IPB Lite at 12 megabits per second. And the EOS R has All I at 90 megabits per second. Now they both have Canon's dual pixel autofocus, which is amazing. I mean, I'm moving around, it's tracking me just fine. So they both have that, so that's great for video making. It's great for motion for photography even. One of the other big differences between these two cameras is that the Canon EOS RP uses the LP E17 batteries, which are very small in comparison to what the EOS R uses, which is the LP E6 batteries. Now talking shutter speed, we have a 30-second shutter speed to 1/4000th of a second for the Canon EOS RP. And for the Canon EOS R, you have one setting more than that at 1/8000th of a second. And also the LCD screen is 0.15 inches bigger on the EOS R, if that's important to you. Now another big thing if you're into photography for this camera, you want to know how fast it can shoot in burst mode. So on the EOS RP, it shoots at 5 frames a second, which is not that fast, but it's okay if you've never done it before and that's not exactly what you're looking for. But if you add autofocus tracking to it, it's only 4 frames a second, so you're losing one still, and 4 is not amazing. You can make it work if you're good and or lucky, but it's not amazing. The EOS RP, however, has 8 frames a second default, but then it jumps all the way down to 5 if you add autofocus tracking, which is the same as the EOS RP's default. Now another thing to note is the EOS R is slightly thicker than the RP, not by much, not even like half an inch, but it also weighs more. The Canon EOS RP only weighs 440 grams, and the R weighs a whole 140 grams more at 580, which is not a big difference, but something to note. So would I rather have an EOS R right now instead of an RP? Yes. Absolutely, because it's a better camera, that's for sure, but I also don't want to spend $800 more on it if I'm not getting a huge amount in return. Now that being said, it is better for video, so if you're using it specifically for that reason only, I would go with the R if you can afford it. If not, Not a huge deal. Get this. It's a great starter camera if you're going to be serious about it. Another thing to mention is if you already own a Canon EOS R or something else like a Canon 5D Mark IV or something, then the RP is a great backup. It's a great backup body to keep in your camera bag because it's so light and it takes up such little room, especially if you already have the RF lenses or even the adapter to use the EF. It's a no-brainer. Bottom line is, with a price like this, it's a great camera to pick up if you're trying to take this seriously. If you want something that'll last you for a bit in a world full of non-stop camera upgrades and tech upgrades and everything, this is a great place to start. Yes, the R5 and the R6 are coming out, but we're talking $4,000, $3,500 just for that camera. So why not start out on something more simple, something cheaper that won't break the bank? Not to mention, if you buy this camera and you had more money to spend on one, maybe you could pick up yourself one of them crispy RF lenses so that you'll be invested for your future. Anyway, that's been it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button, and you all have yourselves a great day. Whew, boy, that was hard. Making videos is harder than it looks. I'm just sitting in front of this camera, just talking. Seems hard, doesn't it? Ah. Oh. I can't drink that fizzy water too fast. Not good for you. I gotta work on